What's up, YouTube? It's a dreary Sunday here in Dallas. I've got a lot of projects going on with the car, so I thought it'd be good for a hoopty update. We're gonna start with the 2013 GMC Yukon Denali. This is my wife's car. It's disgusting, but it's got issues just like any other car, so I'm gonna try to fix one. Normally I don't do a lot of wrenching or messing with cars in the front of the house with all my neighbors out here, but it's a Sunday morning, not many people out, and I don't want to pull around to the back because I don't have a ton of room, so we're just gonna mess with it here. Not a big deal today on what we're doing, but I got a P0172 code, which means the system is too rich in one of the banks. I think the issue is probably the mass airflow sensor is dirty. So what we're gonna do is take this off right here, take the air vent out here. We're gonna spray it with our mass airflow sensor cleaner, try to get that cleaned out. What was happening was when going to start it in the morning, it would idle funny, then die, and then start again, and it would work, but the check engine light was on. So we're gonna get this cleaned up. Hopefully that will fix this issue. All right, so this is pretty simple, just our flathead screwdriver. We're gonna undo these clamps here. Sometimes you can use a socket to take this off. That shouldn't really be necessary. Just a simple screwdriver. So let's remove. Okay, let's see if we can get this out of the way. If we look down here, you can't really see it, but inside there is the sensor, and what it's doing is it's measuring the airflow that goes into the intake. So really, we're just gonna spray this out and clean it off. Let's see if I can get this out of the way so I can get in there a little bit better. Not really, to be honest. I'm gonna move it down. All right, let's just spray this and put it back on. All right, so that's back on snug. We're gonna go ahead and start the car. Now, my wife did say that the check engine light went off, so I think maybe it's just a little bit more temperamental, but we're gonna turn it on anyways. If for some reason this does continue to happen, it's bad, then we'll just simply replace the mass airflow sensor right here, which is just 2 bolts, and it pops out. Stick a new one back in. So let's go ahead and start the car up. Make sure there's no check engine light since it starts. Excuse the mess. All right, so a little bit of a light start there. Wasn't great, but no check engine light. So all right, we're good to go on this one. On to the next one. Next up is our 2001 Mercedes ML55 AMG. Now, this is my daily driver, so I know this car pretty well. One thing that I realized I had not done is I bought new tires when I bought this car probably 2 years ago, and I never rotated them, which, again, I'm a hack, right? So bad on me. But I finally did rotate the tires, and I noticed that the front ones were completely bald, right? The ones in the rear, I moved in the front, looked at them, they were completely bald, had to get new tires. So you might have seen in my shorts, we did find some new tires last week and got those on, so those are great. One thing I've recently realized in the last few weeks, or maybe last month, is the car is pulling to the right when braking. The steering wheel is not moving, but the car definitely moves to the right. It's not been a huge issue, but it's noticeable, and I know that's a problem, especially for safety concern. Now, I just stuck my head kind of around the calipers because I thought maybe one of the pins was loose, and I discovered that I am missing a pin on this left side. So you can't see it really great right here, but the one pin here is not all the way in. Looks like it's kind of been coming out some, and this pin right here is completely missing. So that is probably why this caliper may be a little bit loose and it's not properly seated. I also noticed the pins on the other side, on the right side, don't look like they're in all the way. If we just go to the rears and look here, you can see the pin is sticking out, you know, 1/8 of an inch on that side, and the same on the other side. So it sounds like we need to get a new pin, take these wheels off, correct the pin issues, and that should solve the problem. So very good diagnosis there. Hopefully we can get that fixed. Now, another issue, when I had the motor mounts done, I had these professionally done because, quite frankly, anything involving lifting up the engine was just not something that I really wanted to do. Also, the Mercedes book said it takes 6 hours to do it. 6 hours for me probably means 2 days. So I had a professional come in and do that. And one of the things he said when I picked the car up is, you know, you're missing some sway bar bushings. I said, that's pretty interesting. And I noticed that when I'm driving around and I hit bumps, I hear this really loud metal rattling. So take a look at this. So here you'll see, this is our sway bar right here. and goes all the way here from the hub all the way across. So you'll see that there is currently a bushing right here that is just loose. Okay, that bushing goes into here like this. So there's bushing here. These are the outer bushings, inner bushings. If I go down to here, this bushing is actually just completely gone. So, oh, there's a little bit of bushing left here on the inside, but over here on this side, gone. Bushing over there looks good. Now, here's the problem. To replace these, I bought these polyurethane bushings off of eBay, which I've seen good things about, which are real sturdy. To replace these seems kind of simple. There's 2 bolts here, pretty easy to get off. 1 bolt here that goes to this clamp, and that's it. And then you can take this off, slide the other one up. That thing comes with some grease so you can get it in place and bolt it up. Sometimes people remove the whole sway bar just to clean it up, which this one would probably use. But it's a pretty heavy and it's kind of a 2-man operation. The problem is I cannot get this bolt out, and I've tried just about everything. On the other side, tried the same thing and I snapped the head. So that's gonna have to get drilled out. This one's not coming out, probably needs some heat. Looks like I'm gonna have to take it to get worked on by somebody. This is probably only an hour job by the book, so I don't think it's that hard, but now somebody's gonna have to drill one of these bolts out, and this one might get snapped off too. So we're gonna have to address that. But this should really improve the overall ride handling. I did replace the sway bar end links in the back. That was a pretty easy job. But we need to get this done, because when I'm driving around and hitting potholes and things like that, this thing rattles like a son of a bitch, and it sucks. You can see that the engine's very wet here. I think maybe the power steering pump might be leaking. It's a leaky son of a bitch. So, it is what it is. Still kind of a hoopty. But if we can get this, the brake caliper fixed, eventually get the sway bar bushings done, it should improve the reliability and the ride handling, which would go a long way since this is a daily driver. A couple of things that I'm gonna look to be doing here soon also is replacing the stereo. So I have this stock stereo in here. I only listen to Bluetooth really on my phone, maybe the occasional radio. Obviously I'm not using CDs or anything like that, so I want to remove that. The tricky part is it's this super overcomplicated, as is normal with German cars, Bose system. It's a really good system, but it has an amp and it uses fiber optics. And so I had to buy a decoder to take out the fiber optics. Again, I'm probably gonna have to get some professional help to do that, because I might be able to do it, but these guys could probably do it in an hour, and it cost me 120 bucks, and it'd work properly, so we'll probably just do that. So that's the status on the ML55. Other than that, it's running pretty good. One thing I do need to tackle at some point in the next few months is I do need to change the valve cover gasket on the passenger side. I did the driver side and I just never got to the passenger side, which is not ideal. And I think it's still leaking and it's dirty as hell, so got to replace that at some point. Otherwise, ML55, it's a daily, right? So I beat up on it, not too worried, but do need to address a few issues. On to the next project, back to our 81 Jeep CJ7. So my previous video, I kind of showed you guys the car, talked about what was going on. Since I made that video, I've done quite a bit, and I thought it'd be good to update and look at what else I'm looking to do. First things first is all the brakes have been basically completely replaced. I changed the front driver's side brake pad. It was pretty easy. The other side, there was a bolt that was stripped holding the caliper in, so I had a shop do that. They also did the rears. I was having a hard time bleeding the system, and so I took it in. I said, you guys bleed the brakes. They bled the brakes. They called me and said it's still pretty soft. They replaced the rear shoes as well, so those were toast. So brake pads, new brake shoes on both. The system's been bled. I did replace the brake booster right here. This is from Collins Brothers Jeep here in Texas. I also replaced the master cylinder because that was shot. So, I'm probably in for $1,000 of brakes between what I've done, all those parts, paying a shop to do everything, which was probably more than I anticipated spending, but we're talking brakes, and that's a safety issue, and you don't want to mess around with that. So I might be a hack, but I'm not going to start hacking my way through the brake system. A couple of things that I've been trying to just clean up. I did replace the valve cover gasket, and I'm not sure you can really see it really good, but the old one was basically trash. It didn't look like it fit properly. It was ripped in parts. This is a pretty easy job, and I probably should have filmed this, but you take this air filter off, and there's probably like 6 bolts and a couple holders Really simple job. It's the easiest valve cover gasket I've ever changed. The new one is made by Omex, which makes a lot of Jeep parts. So far, I haven't had any issues, and I know that because when I've driven the Jeep and I've come back and parked it, I'm not getting a big pile of oil dripping everywhere. So that is a great sign. I have a new PCV valve right here, which I probably need to swap because I put a grommet in here. This is a plastic cover made by Omex. I put a grommet in here, but there's some sort of angle, so this does not fit properly. So I may have to reinstall the old one back in there. What else? Let's talk about the interior. So I think I've shared that the interior had this old boat carpet, and I'm in the process of trying to remove it to possibly line exit or rhino line it. Let me find my screwdriver here. And you might have seen this on the shorts that I posted, but I've been trying a lot to get this glue and excess carpet up that's been sitting here for 30 years. And what I've had the most success with is just, your basic flathead screwdriver. Get some of this off. Now that being said, that probably would take me multiple weeks to get all this up. I need to vacuum this out and kind of start over. So I have borrowed an angle grinder from a friend of mine that I'm going to attempt to grind some of this stuff away. If we take up the paint, that's fine. We're going to line this anyway, so I'm not too worried about the paint. But I do need to clean this up quite a bit more. One other issue I'm having is trying to remove these seat belts. You can see there's carpet sitting in here that's underneath the seat belt that I can try to pull up. But it looks like I might have stripped this seat belt bolt, so that could be a problem. I have to get that out. All right, what else? One of the passenger side seat had some tears in the seams, and I just took that to an upholsterer to fix, which I'm hoping to get back here in the next week. Another issue when we're talking about safety is this seat belt here will not pull out. It sticks, and there's a little tab underneath here, down here, where you can put your finger on it and pull this out, but it's not working properly. So I need to remove that and see if I can either fix it or possibly have to order new ones. A new set is going to run me about 160 bucks. Maybe not the worst thing to do just to get new seat belts, but that's 160 bucks I could spend someplace else. I did drive the Jeep the other day at night. The lights work well, but none of the dash lights work. I believe there's some LED upgrades you can do. That might be a bit more than I need to do right now, but I do need to see if I can figure out how to get the dash lights to work. Other thing that I noticed when I drove this Jeep the other day, I took it out around the neighborhood to a friend of mine's house, went to his house, parked it, let it sit outside while we chit-chatted. It had a very high idle, probably around 1800 RPMs. So it was idling super hard. This always happens. So it was idling hard. And then when I got back in the car to leave, I took off and I got to the first stop sign and the idle dropped a lot and the car essentially died. I was able to get it started again, drove to another friend's house, stopped the car, turned it off. When I got back in, it was hard to start and again had a very low idle. So I think that with my changes to the PCV valve, as well as one of the breather hoses back on the back of the valve cover gasket, I might need to readjust the carbs. And that is something that I need to learn about doing. Now, I've had old motorcycles in the past that did have carburetors, so I am familiar with kind of rebuilding carbs and doing it. Wouldn't say I'm an expert. I don't really intend to rebuild this carb. I think it's been done in the past, but I do probably need to adjust it. I bought a vacuum gauge that I'm going to try to use to get the measure the vacuum and just get the idle set properly. So I'm going to be doing some research. If you know a good link or have an idea of how best to do that, let me know. There's a lot of things going on with this carb, so I'm not exactly sure what I'm adjusting necessarily. So it could be these screws back here or jet screws down here in the bottom. I don't exactly know. So that's it for the Jeep update. I also need to, I need to replace the belts. These belts are cracked. And one of my challenges is, in most cars like the GMC or the Mercedes, there's just a belt tensioner and you just move it over and the belt comes right off. It's super simple. These are different. There are two belts here. This one goes to the power steering and the fan, and the one down here goes to the alternator and the fan. But to remove these, you've got to actually move this power steering and loosen some of these bolts to take this off. The alternator is similar, but I don't exactly know where the bottom bolts are. So there's got to be a simpler way to do this. or maybe I'm just not seeing it. But yeah, if anybody has a good trick on the belts, this should be a 10-minute job. I'm just not exactly sure how to do it just yet, so appreciate that heads up. Just take a look at the 911 right now. I haven't driven it much. It's been very rainy and gross here in Dallas, so it hasn't got exercise very much. But you know what? Of all the cars I have, this one starts every time. It runs well. It obviously looks the best. So really happy to have it and have it be so reliable for being a 30-something-year-old air-cooled vehicle. So that's it for the update for me. Appreciate any comments, any subscribes, any likes. Let me know what you think about the different projects. If you got any tips for me, that's great, because again, I need all the tips I can get, or else I'm gonna be sitting on YouTube looking up how to do this stuff anyway. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.